Who am I? That's a simple question, right? No. It's actually one of the most challenging, fundamental, existential questions we'll ever face. And that's exactly what we're going to contemplate on this morning's interrupted walk as we wander and wonder. Good morning. I'm Aaric Eisenstein, the Avian Rebbe, and I teach Jewish wisdom seen in the beauty of birds. This morning we're going to head out to the trail, promise in just a minute, and we're going to walk up and down, and we're going to see a bunch of different birds. We're also going to see one in particular that I saw in kind of the whole perspective of how it lives its day, a little bit different than everything else. And it really got me thinking about this question, who am I? It's a tough one. It's an important one, and one that I hope that you'll explore with me today on an interrupted walk. Be sure to stick around until the end of the video. I'll have 2 action suggestions where you can take the lessons from out here and bring them directly into your own daily life. It's worth sticking around, I promise. Ready? Out to the trails.
There are plenty of days when you walk along the river and you get to see a wide variety of birds, but they fly off. Or you see them bouncing around, they flit, they flutter, and you really don't get a sense of who they are. But today was different. Today I was really fortunate. As I walked along the river this morning, back and forth, I got to see double-crested cormorants. And I presume that I saw multiples. Don't know that for sure, it's kind of hard to tell. But there's no question that what I absolutely got to see was double-crested cormorants behaving in a variety of different ways. I got to watch them fly, I got to watch them paddle, I got to watch them perch, I even got to watch them sing, maybe, hiss, ululate. It was really quite a scene. In any event, this morning what I'd like to do is talk a little bit about this particular bird and how much I enjoyed getting a sense of who it is, how it lives, how it experiences the world. Because in all of these different ways, you get to learn something additional about the bird. All birds have interesting characteristics and interesting behaviors, and oftentimes you don't get to see them. But this morning, I did. I got to see what I consider to be kind of the fullness, if you will, of a double-crested cormorant. I got to see all of these different facets of its personality, of its behavior, of the way that it experiences its environment, and it really enhanced my experience of the morning. I'm going to show some other birds as well because there were quite a few, and I don't want to play favorites. But the reality is that the others, in almost every case, didn't show me that full variety. And why is that? I have no idea. Most likely I just got lucky. But sometimes what is easily dismissed as got lucky is actually an opportunity for a lesson. And that's what I think I got this morning. I got a lesson, I got a little wake-up nudge to pay attention to this particular cormorant and to recognize that by watching the variety of behaviors, the variety of places and environments and so on, we can answer or at least address one of the most challenging questions that there is in the entire world, whether you're talking about birds or ourselves. Who am I? That's what was on my mind this morning as I wandered and wondered on my interrupted walk along this river.
I hope you're enjoying this morning's interrupted walk. Plenty more to come, not least of which the action suggestions at the end. Stick around. We're going to see more of the cormorant, and we're going to talk about, well, you'll see. Back out to the trails.
Chaim Topol, of blessed memory, just died a couple of weeks ago. Many of us might not know his name right off the bat, but if I told you that he was Tevye from Anatevka, depicted in Fiddler on the Roof, you'd know exactly who I'm talking about. Topol, as he was known, was more than just an actor. He was Tevye. And I would go so far as to say that he did more than just play Tevye. The man was Tevye. He depicted Tevye on stage over 3,500 times and made the movie, of course, that for so many of us was the only way that we were ever able to experience the production. Not everybody could go and see it on stage. So, in thinking about Topol, in thinking about Tevye, and Anatevka, and all of the people that constitute that little village, I come back to this question: who am I? One of my favorite songs from the production goes through a list of the various characters of the town. There's the father and the mother and the sons and the daughters, the matchmaker, all of the various constituents of the town. And really, the reason that it's so powerful is because I think it addresses that very same question that the cormorant raised. Who am I? At its root, that's really what Fiddler on the Roof is trying to answer. Who am I? And more specifically, who am I in a clash between tradition and modernity? It's a tough one. It's one of the big questions, one of the ones that various people have tried to answer in various ways, but I wonder if there's really a definitive answer. I probably tend to think not. And that's exactly what it is that made Topol so incredibly endearing as Tevye. The thing about Tevye, all of his, shall we say, idiosyncrasies, all of his character flaws, all of his grandiose ideas are incredibly endearing. Every single bit of Tevye is something that we too can relate to. Every one of us has at some point in our lives questioned, gosh, what would it be like if I were a rich man? What do I question about my relationship with my spouse or with my kids or with my wider community? What does it mean to be a success in business? What does it mean to have a meaningful, deep, rewarding relationship with God? These are the questions that go into who am I? It's an opportunity, I think, when you're looking at a bird, when you're wandering, walking along a river, to answer this question, or again, at least just address it. Who am I? What means something about yourself to you? Not what anybody else thinks, not what anybody else cares about, but what do you care about? How do you define yourself? That's what, in such a beautiful, beautiful way, Anatevka, Tevye, and Topol are trying to do for us. Give us a place to belong, give us a sense of identity, and address this question of who am I?
Well, that's this morning's Interrupted Walk. As promised, 2 action suggestions where we can take the discussion that we've had, the thoughts that we've shared, and bring them into our own daily life at a very mechanical level. Ready? Action suggestion number 1. Answer a simple question. Remember, we talked about Topol and Tevye, okay? What roles do you play? Make a list. Get a pencil, get some paper, and write down what are the roles that you play. Are you a parent? Are you a child? Are you a sibling? Are you a worker? Are you a leader? Are you a member of your community? All these different things. Write them down. Start to see them together on paper. And then start to think a little bit about, am I doing enough of this? Am I doing too much of that? How do you want the fulsome nature of your life to be portrayed? These are important questions, and it's so easy to simply fall into the routine of, I wake up and I go do this. Before I go to bed, I go do that. Instead, be conscious about these roles. Be very careful about giving attention and giving time and effort and energy and focus and all the things to the roles that you play. It will make a difference, I promise. Action suggestion number 2. Take it a step further. Everybody knows what an elevator pitch is if you've ever been in business. What's the 5-second, 15-second kind of catchphrase for your little business. So, I'm the Avian Rebbe, and I teach Jewish wisdom seen in the beauty of birds. Got it. Simple. Now do that for yourself. That's a little tougher. Who are you? Well, See? Spend some time thinking about that. If you had to summarize, who am I, the whole fullness of your life, in 5, 10, 15 seconds, what would you say? What you say depends and reflects the emphasis and the priority that you give to the question. Do you talk about work? Maybe. Do you talk about family? Possibly. Do you talk about both? Likely. My point is, the relative weighting of these things, how you describe them, what it is that you put in and what you leave out, really say a lot in answering that question of, who am I? I promise it'll be a good exercise. It's not easy. You're going to take a few whacks at it, if you will, a few edits, a few drafts. It's worth it. Do it. Okay, that's it for this week's Interrupted Walk. Yes, I'll be back next week. Yes, I'm looking forward to seeing you then. To make sure that you be notified of what's coming up, hit the like and subscribe buttons down below. And in the description of this video, there's a link where you can sign up for my free weekly email filled with birdie goodness. I really hope that you'll take advantage of it. Okay, thanks again, and I'll see you next week. Be grounded, fly high.